I want to be smarter and faster at what we do because I want to reduce overhead. I want to deliver better customer service, whether it's on the delivery side or the support side. Can I deliver better customer service through levels of automation and using technology to get there?
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Tech Tea podcast with McLean Forrester, where we bring you the latest information about emerging technology. I'm Heather McLean.
And I'm Larry McLean.
All right, so let's dig in. This is episode 6, and we normally start with a little bit of sort of current events or what's the latest out there. So I think you have something for us, Larry. Is it anything spicy this week?
Yes, I do. So I've been excited. We've talked for weeks and months about the upcoming impact of vertical generative AI, and especially for customer experience, right? You have an inward facing and an outward facing. This is outward facing generative AI that is now bringing a conversational chatbot. We call it a next gen chatbot capability to the mainstream. Well, who's the market disruptor in the world, like on a regular basis? Amazon, right? So if you have an Amazon Prime account, like millions of people do, Amazon, if you look up in the upper left-hand corner of your login page or your Amazon page, there's a little icon called Amazon Rufus Beta. And so they've released it in the last 60 days here in the US. They've piloted it at other places. But we've talked about vertical AI for customer experience. A lot of people are hesitant to get into that because, again, AI is kind of new and people are afraid to just quickly jump, right? But who's the market disruptor? And then when a market disruptor comes in, now all of a sudden the race is on. So in my mind, there's the starter pistol. Amazon is now out of the gates, and it's now time for everyone to start catching up. So, it's quite an amazing capability. Yes, it's beta. Let's dive into it a little.
Yeah, I played with this a little over the weekend because, as you know, we were doing a lot of Christmas shopping, and my goal this season is to never leave the house to have to go do my Christmas shopping. I think I'm pretty successful so far, actually. But I was playing around with it, and I was asking it some questions. I wanted to know how much of my past product, purchasing behavior it had access to. So I was asking it questions like, "Hey, I'm looking for another pair of tennis shoes like this one that I bought," and I'd named a pair that I knew I bought on Amazon. And I said, what would you recommend? And it came back with a couple of shoes. It came back with some men's shoes, which I thought was probably a mismatch in what it was returning to me. Because clearly the one I gave them was a women's shoe example. And it didn't seem to have great information on products I had bought in the past. So it didn't match that up very well. Let's see, what else? It didn't, it couldn't put things in my cart. So I tried to experiment with this because I think this is the ultimate in this chatbot concierge concept, right? If I can use the chatbot to find the thing I want, help sort through, thousands of products to find the thing I want to be able to say, put it in my cart. Or I want the chatbot to actually ask me, "Hey, looks like you like this. Would you like me to put it in your cart?" Right? And so it couldn't do that yet. But I don't think it's going to be long before there's some improvements here with Rufus. I think that the fact that they went out there and they released this beta capability is pretty awesome because it really does set the bar for the rest of the retail industry. And that's exciting for us because we've been talking about this for a while. And it's just been hard to really explain to people what are we talking about, right? And now we have a real world example of what this could look like for some other of our clients. So it's exciting.
Sure. I think a key part here too, Heather, is the complexity of doing this. It's hard, but it's not hard, right? It depends on who you talk to, right? The fact that they have linked all of this. And so for anyone who's not really understanding fully what we're talking about, one, use your Amazon Prime account, go play with Rufus. But it comes down to, and you use the keyword, your concierge. So if you can digitize a concierge, it gives you that personalized experience of products. So it knows the products, that it knows the customer. So when you log in, it knows your information, your history. And this generative AI capability is going to continue to extract and learn from that to say, "Hey, I saw that you were browsing." This is what it did for me. "Hey, I saw yesterday on our website, you were browsing for this product. Are you still interested in it?" And While no, it doesn't put it in your cart yet, it gave me a direct link to click on the item, and then it brings up the web page of this is the product that I recommended to you. You can then read further about it and then add that to your cart. At least it has that linkage to it.
That's great. And it seemed to have good product knowledge. So like maybe they've spent a lot of their time building that piece out. And so I hope the next piece is that deep customer knowledge that we keep talking about. How it knows me, it knows what I bought, it knows what I like. I do see this sometimes when I go to buy something, it'll say we recommend a size for you based on your past purchases. So that's kind of cool. That's not part of Rufus, but it is just part of their AI capabilities. And so it's exciting. I can't wait to see the next version and how they improve it.
Well, and especially on products for Amazon, because they sell their own products, but they
Mm-hmm.
also sell everyone else's products, right? It's a platform to do that. So being able to have that much intimate detail knowledge of the products gets into data and metadata, and we're not going to delve into that today. But how hard is that to get from an entire ecosystem of people who are selling their products on your platform, right? So
Right.
it's going to
Right.
be a challenge for Amazon, but I think they're the team to do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll be watching.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into our topic for today because I know we've been wanting to talk about this one. And I think we've kind of been leading up to this in some of our articles and other podcasts. So today we're going to talk about hyperautomation. And you might be like, what the heck is that? And so we're going to dig into that. We're going to break it down. Larry actually is going to be our resident expert on this topic today, and really help you guys understand what this area of technology is all about and how you can leverage it to improve operations, drive profitability, and just make general improvements to your organization. So, okay, let's dig in, Larry. Maybe you can just give me a high level overview of what do you mean by hyperautomation? It sounds really complex.
It does, right? And it seems like another technology, but it's not. It's really an umbrella term for many of the things that we've been talking about. So I love it because it brings context. And that's why I really want to bring it into this episode, is because when we talk like we just did about Rufus and generative vertical AI, vertical generative AI, and you talk about all the things that are going on, the root cause for all this, the whole purpose of all of this is to really drive efficiencies and effectiveness, et cetera, on business processes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hyper automation. It's task, process, you name it. Whatever we do as an organization, can it be accelerated? And there's kind of a scalability to it in many facets, but that umbrella term is hyper automation. I'll read the Gartner definition. It's a little long, but I really, really like it. So it's business driven hyper automation is a disciplined approach that organizations use to rapidly identify, vet, and automate as many business and IT processes as possible. So it involves the orchestrated use of multiple technologies, tools, or platforms. So there's a whole bunch here. When we talk AI, machine learning, event-driven software architecture, RPA, robotic process automation, which we did just published a paper on that, business process mapping, low-code, no-code tools, packaged software, all of these things and conglomeration of how do I now get after reimagining my business processes and making them better. These are the tools in the toolbox. The toolbox is called hyperautomation.
Okay. Yeah, that was a mouthful.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
know.
think about that one tonight, but well, maybe we could break this down a little bit. Are there like levels of automation that we could start with?
Absolutely. So RPA, well, first off, just straight up business process reevaluation, right? Reengineering. What's a business process? Can I make it better? Let's step back. Six Sigma, lean logistics, there's all kinds of things that have happened in the world over the last 20 years to say, let's take a look, step back, take a look at our process, figure out what's wasteful, what's not wasteful. How can we now do a reimagining of the process? And I've done a number of those. I've probably done 50 or 60 process automation, process reimagining, reengineering events, taking in a previous life, I took a 3-day process down to 3 hours, just through, can I eliminate the waste? That doesn't really involve any technology at all. Then the next level up is robotic process automation. So think of unintelligent tasks per se, menial tasks, things that are just take time to do. Imagine if you are a finance expert and you have to log into this site and pull down data. And then I put it in a table. And then I log into another site and pull down additional data and I put it in the same table. And then I converge all of this information by logging into different sites, accessing different files. That's a lot of task oriented behavior, right? I do the same thing every single day and it takes me 6 hours.
I bet there are still a lot of jobs out there where this is a majority of your work, doing the same thing every day. You're pulling information from here, putting it there, so that other people can do different things with that information. Yeah, I wonder, do you have any examples of where you've actually implemented something like this?
I led the project for a large DoD organization, and we had the pilot program for the organization to implement it, and it was in finance. And the ultimate goal is if you can have as they call it, an unattended automation, an unattended bot. So just think of that description I just gave of how laborious it is to now pull all of this data together to create a report. Well, think of now, it might take you 2 days to access and converge all of that data. Now think of an automation that can do it in digital time overnight. You wake up, you come into the work the next morning, you no longer have to do that task, that one that you hate because it takes so much time and it's not very brain intensive. It's just repetitive. And people make mistakes. An automation doesn't, right? And so you show up that next morning, all of that's done. Now you can instead do the human work of interpreting that data, assessing the reports, making recommendations. So that's RPA, and it can be definitely a game changer once you get to that unattended automation.
That's cool. Are there like industry leading tools that you've worked
So
with?
UiPath is the RPA tool of choice for the most part. It's been selected. It's, in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. There's lots of areas where UiPath is just one of the best.
Okay. I think I get that one. And we've written a few papers on that. If you want to read more, you can check out our website. So what's the next level above this process automation level?
So then there's orchestration, right? You go across functions. So if I have to go out to a website and pull down various data that different departments need, can that automated bot do that for me? Absolutely. And feed different portions of the organization. Then, you have business reinvention. So therefore, now can I look at bringing in now additional tools? So we've talked about RPA. Now we've talked about AI. We've talked about vertical Gen AI. Now, what do I do with that information? So the low level non AI piece is the RPA. Well, now can I be even smarter about applying technology to my business processes? Yeah, now you have opportunities to bring in AI in various forms.
Would that be like analytics on your data? So you're collecting all this information and then doing something with that?
Absolutely. So when you are now generating this information, what do I do with it? Right. So I talked about when you get to that human piece of assessment and analysis, can I train an automation, an AI based automation to do that? In some cases, yes, I can.
Right. Well, and there's only so much data somebody can analyze, right? But a computer can do this way faster with huge amounts of information. So I'm thinking of like Walmart, right? Or a large retailer where they have all this data on purchases and maybe stock items, and they need automations and AI to interpret what they're seeing, interpret trends in purchasing, or maybe errors in the supply chain, or like places where the supply chain is going to fall through if they don't make changes. I can really see a lot of practical applications, and I'm betting a lot of those have been in place for many years in lots of organizations too.
Right. And the whole point here is where can I apply the correct technology to improve my business processes? Because that's what I really want. I want to be smarter and faster at what we do because I want to reduce overhead. I want to deliver better customer service, whether it's on the delivery side or the support side. Can I deliver better customer service through levels of automation and using technology to get there? AI, machine learning, chatbots, event driven software. There's so many things out there that can be leveraged. And throughout the last year, especially, there are all these terms being thrown around without a context. And I think hyperautomation starts to give it that context. Keeping in focus, the whole point is the business side of the house. It has to have that return of value for the customers and for the business side of the house.
So I guess that leads me to wonder, where do you start? If you're an organization and you have lots of manual processes, or you just have this feeling like you could be doing things more efficiently, where do you even start with this journey?
You call me. No.
Definitely call us. Well, what would we do in that scenario? Like, how do we guide a client on that journey?
Well, first you look at what are their high value processes, right?
Hmm.
What are my critical processes? What are my key performance indicators? What are the processes associated around those? So you want to get the most bang for your buck. Some task that's performed once a year and it takes 3 hours, obviously not a candidate. Something you do every single day that really delivers on the bottom line, that's absolutely a candidate. Let's start to look at how do you do the process, because process automation makes things faster. And I've run into this before where people say, well, let's just automate this. Timeout. Is it a good process or bad process? Automating a bad process means you're just doing a bad process faster.
Right.
So let's take a look at the business process, do some business process reengineering. Inserting the concept of technology as a game changer.
Right. Exactly. I guess in past engagements, what I'd like to also do on top of that is also talk about the pain points that the client is currently experiencing.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about where they might think there could be some efficiencies gained, because sometimes they don't even think about a technical solution to pain their feelings. So I'd love to do an exercise where we talk through what are the pain points, and you get the big folks in the room, right? The decision makers, and you hear their pain. But then you also want to get that lower level, those mid managers and workers. You want to find out what pain they're going through. And I think you might be surprised at some of the bad or inefficient processes that you can discover with that kind of an exercise. It's fun. It's always fun because people like talking about the pain, I think, because one, they get to talk about it, right? But then also we can talk about what can we do to solve that. And that's where it becomes like a lot of fun. And when you get into a room and you do this on a whiteboard and you're throwing out ideas, and that's where like there's magic that happens.
Those brainstorming sessions, you're absolutely right. Like I said, in the many that I've done, it's been interesting because there's some that unearth themselves because they are pain points for people. But
Hmm.
then there's another whole batch that people, that's their normal, so they don't recognize it's a bad process.
Right. Like they can't envision how it could maybe be different. And you get sort of stuck in that way of thinking. But when you have other people listening to the problems and to the processes, you have an outside perspective, which is something we can bring based on all those years of experience we have doing these things, I think. Then you can really break into some what if scenarios. What if you could do this? What if you could do it that way? And like that's a lot of fun to go through with a client.
In one session that I did, it was interesting. It was a team of 6 people. They had a process that took 3 days. Everyone in the organization, there were a support function, and everyone in the organization hated that process except for the people doing the process. And it was very interesting because it comes back to group dynamics, how people are very wedded to the process they do because that is their normal. And in our first session, now imagine a large conference table, chairs around the conference table, space behind that, and then chairs along the walls. The very first session, this is how you saw everyone sitting. No one's sitting at the table. Everyone's sitting in the chairs along the wall like this. What were my nonverbals?
But yeah, they did not want to change. That's an I don't want to change stance.
Absolutely. But the beauty of was as we walked through those what if scenarios with them, and what I always like to do too is bring in a wild card, they call it, is someone who knows nothing about the process who's
Mhm.
going to ask those 5 whys and force them to answer the 5 whys. And sometimes they come to a point where it's like, yeah, I don't know why we do it that way. But it was great because at the end of about 6 weeks of doing process reengineering with them, touch points once a week. In the very last session, when they've revamped this process from 3 days to 3 hours, that same group of people were now in the same conference room, not in their seats, standing up over the conference table, pointing at all the process improvements that they made, everyone engaged, everyone involved. That was really the true win because that's the mentality you want your team to have is continuous improvement. I can take ownership in making it better versus I'm comfortable with the way it is because that's my normal. Then the guardrails are off for them. They could go change any process they wanted because now they had the flavor of it.
Yeah, you were really just getting at the human aspect of change management there, and how you really got to get people to sort of shift their thinking, and then if they see they're part of that solution, I think it's much easier to get involved and make that change instead of someone just handing you the new process. Like, that would really make me mad. Like,
Well,
help,
yeah,
let me be a part of making it better, then I can buy into that, right? So,
there's been years that I've heard this phrase and I've always kept it near and dear and close is people support what they help create.
so true. Yep.
And that's such a great thing. And I bring all this back, while these seem like sidebar stories, they're not, because in this whole world of hyper automation,
Yeah.
what we're talking about is change, right?
Yes.
How do I reimagine the process? How do I rebuild a process? How do I use RPA to automate the process? How do I, um, you get after just new and incredible things related to how do I do my business processes? Every single one of those events is going to require change.
Yeah. And technology becomes the enabler in all those cases. Like, if you're doing it right, your technology is the enabler. You're setting the processes up the way they make sense, and then your technology is making that happen.
Absolutely. I think it's really exciting, and I'm glad we can kind of, through the term hyper automation, provide a little bit of context of don't lose sight of the business side of the house. That's why we're doing it. We don't do IT for IT. We don't do data for data. Those are supporting functions for the business.
Right.
And we're supposed to be there as a good partner, whether it's data, whether it's IT, whether it's AI, data science. We're supposed to be there to help the business side just do better. The business focus on automation is better, faster, cheaper, in that order, right? Can I do this job better? Can I do this job faster? Can I do it cheaper? Not the other way around.
Okay.
Because if you can do the first two, the third one comes along.
So true. Well, I think that kind of wraps up this topic. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we maybe didn't cover?
No, I love this stuff. Being an industrial engineer from the start, way back when, I love re-engineering. I love making things faster and better for our
Me too.
customers and just for everyone.
I love efficiency as much as you do, which I'm sure drives our family nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well. All right. So I think that's it. If you're interested in talking to us, exploring this further, please reach out. You know, no expectations. We love to just sit and chat and meet new people. So we welcome you to do that, and check out our website. We've got a couple of articles that are in this space, and you might even see an upcoming newsletter around this topic. So
We can sit and have
yeah,
a cup of coffee over a video call just to talk about some of these things and how they would apply and brainstorm together.
yep,
No obligation.
that'd be fun. All
Yeah,
right. Well, thank you for your time, listeners. Thank you, Larry. It was a great conversation as usual. And hope you join us next time on the next episode of the Tech Tea Podcast.
awesome. Bye
Take care.
bye.